is your Odyssey.
Hello everybody, my name is Gareth Evans. I am joined by Mr. Henry Cooper. How are you doing, sir?
I'm not bad. Not
that Henry Cooper. We're not expecting any fights here.
Nah.
This is a pacifist environment. So
well, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see how this conversation goes. So we're here to talk about Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Origins?
Odyssey.
I'm getting confused here already. Assassin's Creed Odyssey and its critical reception, because the review embargo is up. We know what people are saying about the game, and we're going to talk about that and help you guys out trying to figure out whether this is the game for you or not. One of the major criticisms of the Assassin's Creed series is that they're just yearly iterations, the same thing in and out. So what are they doing to keep this series fresh now? Because Origins last year marked a change in the series. They introduced a new combat system and they're trying to keep it fresh now. So how far does Odyssey go to keep that freshness, to change the series up and make it more enticing for people who might have dropped off the series recently? So that's what we're trying to maybe address here. So we've been looking at some of the reception, the Metacritic scores.
Yeah.
We're looking at an 85 score on Metacritic on the PS4 based on 57 critics. So that is a very sterling score, let's say. 87 on the Xbox version based on 20 reviewers. So mid to high 80s is where it sits currently. We are expecting it to be released in a couple of days' time, October the 5th, to everybody. It's currently available for people who have pre-ordered the game, I believe. So you can get early access right now.
Generally, it's been really, really positive. It's kind of like upper 80s and 90s. The lowest, I think, was only about a 60, so that's just kind of an average, and that was from a site called Digital Trends. And they liked the story and the world and how well realised it was, because, I mean, the graphics are, as we expect from any kind of AAA game these days, they're stunning, the animation's pretty great, and the microtransactions, they are there, but they're not shoved straight down your throat. They're there if you want to buy a few extra armor sets or weapons or horse armor, because apparently that's still a thing that people like to do. I've forgotten how much of a meme that one was.
There you go.
The main criticism from these guys at Digital Trends was the big grind towards the end. And what they were saying was that essentially you've got a mission and you need to be like level 20 and you're only about level 15, so you can't do it. And then you've got to go back, do a bunch of side quests or side activities, get yourself leveled up, get yourself better gear, and then you can do it. And I think in comparison to the pretty impressive story, that really draws away from it. Having to stop this really enjoyable adventure, this family tale that everyone's talking about, and then just go run a bunch of fetch quests and errands just to grind your XP up.
Apparently this is the longest and the biggest Assassin's Creed ever. Do we know how long it is? I
think most people averaging between 40 and 60 hours
of gameplay, which is great for some people who want value for money, who want that, a single player game. You don't often get that much gameplay in it outside of JRPGs or something like that. So a big world to explore, and it is a selling point for a lot of people who want that value for money. However, if it does get grindy, if it gets very repetitive, you're just not into it, then maybe that is a detractor. I guess it's up to the individual to decide whether that is a plus point or a minus point, because for different people it might well be those.
Yeah, I like a nice big game with lots of content, but if you're getting grindy towards the end of an already long game, it just seems a bit unnecessary. I think Games Radar said that it doesn't ever get too long and it doesn't ever get too big, but that is a concern that I always have. Like playing The Witcher 3, and this has been compared to that a lot in terms of kind of scope. I loved it, but it was a long effort. Like, you've really got to commit to it. Yeah. And I know people have things going on, you've got jobs, got blah blah blah. It takes time to do these massive games, and I just don't know if you can commit that much of your time to it.
One person might find something grindy, another person might see if you enjoy the gameplay, it's not grindy at all, it's just fun, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the main criticisms, which is a double-edged sword, really. You can take it both ways. So tell me something, what are people liking about the game? Because it's more like an RPG this time, right? You've got more dialogue choices.
Yeah, there's lots of dialogue choices that aren't kind of immediately obvious about their impact. So people have been walking along and there's some people getting attacked by soldiers or whatever. They can then interact with them, they can save them, and then that then opens up another potential mission, or they can ignore them and then they won't have that mission, and then they won't find out that, there's a certain item or treasure or something like that, which I think is pretty cool, because they're really going for this player choice thing, which everyone likes to throw around in their E3 demos and stuff like that. It's a play your way.
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Especially now you can play as male or female character. That's going to kind of open things up a bit. Although apparently the stories, they are the same. There's just slight tonal variations in the dialogue choices or something. Like Alexios, the male, he's kind of brash and bullheaded, but then Cassandra, she's a bit more playful and kind of funny and clever. Different tone is what's going on there, rather than actual content being different.
And this is the first time that Assassin's Creed has given you the choice at the beginning of a game, right? And it's the first time that you've had dialogue options too. So this might be enticing for those players who might have been a bit bored with the stealth gameplay that's historically been associated with Assassin's Creed games. This is more of an RPG this time, right? And this is the first time that they're trying to do this. They're trying to focus on choice, player choice, like you touched on earlier, where you can choose what to say in any instance. You can choose to be a female. You can choose to go out and not do these side missions or just to completely ignore content or whatever. And that's where it kind of lean into this RPG thing. It's more of an RPG now. It's less of the stealth thing. That is more of a shift away from what was historically the Assassin's Creed stealth-like game.
Yeah, there's a big push for the combat-heavy sections in this one. So there's a new system called the Conquest Battles, right? So you unlock these by clearing through an area in kind of your classic Ubisoft fashion. You kill all the guys, then you kill the higher-ups, and then it opens up this territorial claim to the area. And then it's a big kind of battle, just a massacre of bodies everywhere, people killing each other. And that's had a few mixed reviews, because some people have said that it's really fun just to get stuck in and have some brutal action. Then other people have been complaining that it's just winding down a health bar and it's just a bit monotonous, just hitting them until they die, and there's no real kind of drive for it. And if you're playing a stealth build, because you've got 3 skill trees as part of the RPG systems, if you're playing a stealth build under what they call the assassin tree, you're really going to struggle.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're playing the warrior one, which is all about your combat skills, that's definitely the way they're pushing you. Because if you don't have those warrior-based skills, you're not going to have the certain moves or endurance or health or whatever to be able to take on these hordes and hordes of enemies. Yeah,
sure. And this is something that I've got hands-on experience with from EGX when I played the demo. And one thing that did jump out at me was that it wasn't easy. All these enemies have got shields, and you've got to think about getting around them, hitting them from behind or from the side, and also multiple enemies coming at once. It wasn't easy, right? It really wasn't easy. And I can imagine if you are going for like a more stealthy build and you're forced to do these battles, maybe you can choose not to. I don't know.
There's one that you have to do at the beginning, apparently. I think Games Radar pointed out you have to do that one for like a story reason. But then the other ones you don't have to, because if you're not killing the people and taking the territory, that they just won't be available to you. Another big gameplay introduction is the use of, they call them mercenaries. Again, with the player choice stuff, if you're walking around and you're being a nice guy, that's all great. That's swell.
That's
having
nice.
a lovely time. If you're wandering around, you're stealing stuff, robbing chests, killing fools.
Being an arsehole.
Yeah, just
being a general
a nasty
rapscallion
bastard. Yeah. If you're just being a bit of a dick, they send out these mercenaries to just come take you out, and they're meant to be the top tier kind of tough guys to take down. And some people have really enjoyed it because it's kind of like a meta game, because they can show up like whenever. You can be on your way to a quest, like a main quest, or you can be kind of in the middle of a side quest and they'll just jump in and start annihilating you out of nowhere. But then some people have just found them to be XP sponges. I think that's what IGN said. You just take them out, move on. Weren't very meaningful encounters like a boss battle or anything like that. It's just they show up, you kill them, you move on.
It gives you that balance where if you do want to be the kind of player to go around stealing, robbing, being a general arsehole, as we've discussed, you have to consider there are going to be consequences to that. So I guess it's good in that sense.
My only experience with it really is they kind of did it in Red Dead. So when you get a high enough bounty, they send out the marshals. In that game, it didn't really mean a lot. They were just guys who showed up and it's like, the marshals are after you, and then you just kill them like normal. And I thought that was cool because you would just be wandering around doing your own thing, and they show up and surprise you, so it kept it fresh. So I think I would enjoy something like this if I was playing it. So naval combat has made a return. Most people seem to really like it.
Yeah.
It's just more refined than ever. I mean, we saw it in Black Flag. That was the best use of it in my experience. I mean, they had it a bit in AC3, but it wasn't as fleshed out. In Black Flag, it was great because you really felt like a pirate. You wander in the seas and getting into scrapes, and it was cool. And it seems very much in that vein, very explorative, and you kind of stumble across these little adventures and naval battles. But some people have criticized them for just being more of the same. And that's a general thing from a lot of the detractors of the game. They don't think it's done enough to separate itself from some of the other ones, but then a lot of the fans have said that it has done enough, so it's kind of on the line there.
Yeah, it's another one of those issues that there's arguments on both sides of it, and if I guess you've played Black Flag and you loved and enjoyed that, and you're looking for more of the same, this is it, I guess. Yeah. And if you like Black Flag but want something different, then maybe this isn't the one for you.
The naval stuff really links into the world as well. I think it was Games Radar said, it never takes like a long journey to find a thing. There's always something going on nearby. So you'll have your main objective icon a kilometre or two away on the other side of the map, but then you also have a few little ones 100 to 300 meters away or something like that, and I imagine that you could kind of just bounce from one to the other along your route to your primary objective, which I think is pretty cool, because if you're just walking or sailing for the naval stuff, it just gets dull.
You need to keep people interested. You don't want them to sat there for 5 minutes getting across the map. This is one of the things that open world games have to implement, is like these random encounters or whatever, where you don't go more than X amount of distance without having an option to engage in some sort of gameplay.
So I know most open world games have a fast travel system, but I always try to stay away from that because I like being in the world, but then a lot of games, it's just dull. Spider-Man did it really well because their traversal with the web swinging was so fun.
Yeah.
I only ever fast traveled a couple of times, and that was just because it was literally on the other side of the map, and it had the subway thing, which was just funny. It was a quirky little way to do it, which I thought was cool.
What else are people saying about this game?
Eurogamer really liked the new first civilization weapon that's kind of a big mechanic now. It's essentially like a spearhead, and you've kind of got that on you at all times. And they say, quote, "The blade symbolizes the shift away from Ubisoft's habitual Assassin's Creed gameplay to one that feels freer, more fantastical, and more fun." And that sounds great to me. Because Assassin's Creed, it was kind of grounded in reality, and then it stopped being grounded in reality because it just got a bit too absurd. But now they've kind of gone all in with that, and they're like, you know what, yeah, let's just go for it, let's have fun. And it seems to have really worked. And they also said the new First Civilization blade essentially makes the traditional hidden blade feel like a cosplay knockoff or something like that. It's just like a cooler version of it with all these extra kind of powers. You can do a little, like a slam into the ground, and there's a big area of effect attack and stuff like that.
That's where it sits. That's the kind of overview of what people are saying this way or that way for both. And it seems like a mixed bag, right? Not in terms of it's equally negative and positive. It feels like, yes, they're kind of pivoting the gameplay a little bit to keep it more fresh. I was originally very excited about this game, the prospect of it being an RPG and more decision-based type of gameplay. But now looking at being faced with a 40-hour to 60-hour open world grind, which some people are saying, I feel like a lot of those points ring true for me, and maybe I've been put off. Having played at IEGX as well, it didn't give the best impression because the demo itself was difficult. There was no tutorial or anything, and I was just thrown in at the deep end with a couple of options. I find myself dying a lot, let's put it that way. Given all of this info, I will probably pick it up at some point, but maybe it won't be top of my playlist. I don't know. How do you feel about it, Henry? Are you the kind of guy who's going to pick this up?
Well, I say I'm kind of the opposite. I had no interest in this. When it was announced, they had that the Spartan helmet, which I was like, oh, cool, it's going to be in ancient Greece. That could be a really interesting setting. Then my immediate thought after that was, how on earth are you going to be able to do parkour and free running with an enormous helmet with a big brush on top of your head? But then as trailers came out, got less interested in it. The gameplay seemed a bit stilted, certainly at the start. But now, with such positive feedback about the story and the characters, that's got me much, much more interested.
Yeah.
Because I always believe, well, I'm a narrative player. Like, I play story-driven games. I very rarely play multiplayer. I don't hate it. It's just not for me. Mm-hmm. So if it's a solid story-driven experience, I can really get behind that. Mm-hmm. And I always think if you've got great characters as well, that's so important. Because if you've got a fine story but great characters, that really elevates the whole thing. Like, take The Last of Us. The fundamental story of that is getting from A to B.
Yes.
It's not that complicated, but we love it because Joel and Ellie are so well written, well acted, all that. It's great. But then on the flip side, if you've got an excellent story with kind of flat characters, it just doesn't resonate in the same way.
Sure.
So with having Alexios and Cassandra be so well put together, that really intrigues me and makes me want to play it a bit more.
Well, there you go. We've covered a lot of the bases here, and the last question is, what do you guys who are listening feel, given all this information, this new information about the game that we've had now, all the reviews, it's reviewing very highly, there's very specific criticisms. Is it enough to coax you in? Are you a historical Assassin's Creed player that has dropped off? Is this enough of a change? Is it something that you probably wouldn't pick up because it's more of an RPG now? Or have you always been on board? You're still really excited for? Are you playing it already because you pre-ordered it like a chump? Let us know down in the comments below. I'm going to finish this video now, and we will see you again in the next one. So on behalf of myself, Gareth Evans, and Mr. Henry Cooper over there,
Bye.
we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Built by friendship and family, love and loss.